Hello, this is Gloomy Sunday, and once again, I will be sharing spooky stories that will send shivers down your thorny spine. Without further ado, let's begin tonight's creepy, spooky, and sometimes outlandish array of tales. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. This happened last year in Minnesota, around July or August. The weather was beautiful, so I decided to take my 3 kids for a stroll on a trail I had recently discovered. The trail runs alongside a lake on the left, then splits into 2 paths at the far end. The left trail leads to another nearby lake, while the right one loops into a dense wooded area before circling back to the starting point. We had only walked about a quarter mile when my eldest son shouted, "Look, Daddy, there's a garter snake." Curious, my other 2 kids and I went over to see a small black and yellow striped garter snake slithering into some bushes. We had barely walked another 15 feet when my daughter called out, "Daddy, Daddy, there's another one over here." Almost immediately, my youngest chimed in, "Daddy, there's a turtle next to it." That's when I thought, what the heck? A turtle and a snake together on a dry trail. Then we noticed a frog nearby as well. A frog, a snake, and a turtle, all clustered in one spot. It felt odd. My kids, not afraid of reptiles or amphibians, started chasing them, laughing and playing. Meanwhile, I couldn't shake an uneasy feeling. It just seemed off. I remembered something my uncle once told me. If you see a snake cross your path twice, it's a warning to turn back. I suggested we head back, but my kids protested. They wanted to explore the wooded area ahead, hoping to spot a deer or turkey. I wasn't in the mood to argue, so I reluctantly agreed. As soon as we entered the wooded area, the temperature dropped noticeably, and everything became eerily quiet. No birds, no squirrels, just dead silence. It was unsettling. When we finally exited the woods, we came across a flower field. My kids ran ahead, chasing each other through the blossoms, while I paused to admire some purple flowers with intricate petal patterns. I was lost in thought when I suddenly heard a woman's voice. "Help me! Please help me!" the voice said. It was faint, almost static-like, as if coming from a faraway radio. Startled, I stopped and listened carefully. The voice came again. "Help me! Please help me! They're trying to kill me!" My kids ran back to me just then, urging me to keep moving. I asked if they had seen or heard anything unusual, but they said no. We were only about a quarter mile from the end of the trail, so I told them to go ahead and wait for each other while I stayed behind to take some pictures of the flowers. They agreed and dashed off. As soon as they left, I heard the voice again. "Help me! Please come help me!" But this time, there was a faint chuckle after the plea. The voice called out about 5 more times, growing eerier with each repetition. I pinpointed its origin, deep in the woods we had just passed through, somewhere atop a hill about 100 yards away. I wasn't scared, but I was on high alert. My priority was to protect my kids. This didn't feel like a prank, it felt wrong. I'd had strange experiences before, and this felt no different. As I stood there, every time I turned to leave, the voice would call out. When I stopped and looked back, the voice would stop, replaced by faint laughter. At that moment, I knew I couldn't just walk away. Quietly, I whispered a prayer to my grandparents and ancestors, asking for guidance and protection. Almost immediately, I felt a presence instructing me to walk backward until I exited the flower field and reached the open trail. Following the guidance, I kept my eyes on the woods, pretending to take pictures of the flowers and lake as I slowly backed away. Just as I stepped out of the flower field, I heard a sharp laugh, followed by a scream that chilled me to my core. I don't know why walking backward seemed to work or what it meant, but nothing strange followed me home after that day. Needless to say, I've never gone back to that trail and I don't plan to. That is a very unusual story. Someone told me that when you walk backwards, the thing can't trace your footsteps and follow you. Let's read the next story. When I was 4 years old, my family and I lived in Fresno. We moved into an apartment complex where most of the residents were Laro and Cambodian, like us. A few weeks after moving in, strange things started happening. One day, my mom saw my cousin walking outside. She knocked on our window and waved to say hello, but as soon as my cousin saw her, he turned pale and ran off crying. I thought it was weird, but at the time, I shrugged it off. About a week later, during a severe thunderstorm at night, I woke up to the sound of thunder. Something made me look toward the hallway. My sisters and I slept with our bedroom door open, and as I stared at the doorway, I saw a small figure with glowing red eyes slowly walking past. It stopped and stared directly at me. At first, I didn't think much about the glowing eyes, I was more focused on its height. It was about the size of my little brother, who was 2.5 years old at the time. Thinking it was him, I called out, "Vongsa." No response. "Vongsa, what's wrong?" Still nothing. "Vongsa, if you're scared, you can sleep next to me. I'm scared too." I even moved over and patted the bed, inviting him. The figure didn't say a word. Instead, it turned and walked toward the kitchen. I assumed he was going to get his bottle and would come back, so I went back to sleep. But he never did. The next morning, I asked my mom if my little brother had gone to her room during the night. She told me he hadn't woken up at all. Confused, I explained what I had seen. My mom's face grew serious, and she spoke to my dad in Laro, a language I didn't fully understand at the time. Right after their conversation, my dad left and returned with a Buddhist monk to bless the apartment. I was told not to talk about what I had seen ever again. Years later, when I was 12, we were living in Green Bay. During another severe thunderstorm, I dreamed about that night in Fresno. The memory felt so vivid that the next morning, I confronted my mom. What she told me left me completely shaken. She explained that before we moved into the apartment, a Hong family had lived there. The husband had grown paranoid, convinced that his wife was having an affair with her ESL teacher at the local college. In a fit of rage, he killed their 2 sons, one was 6 years old, the other only 2, then waited for his wife to come home. When she returned, he killed her as well. Neighbors didn't think much of the noise, assuming it was just a family argument. After realizing what he had done, the man took his own life. The next day, the woman's father came to babysit the boys. When he unlocked the door, he found the bodies in one of the bedrooms. My mom wouldn't tell me how they were killed, she didn't want to traumatize me further. I then asked her about my cousin. Why had he run off crying that day? She said that when my mom waved at him through the window, he didn't see her, he saw the Hong woman waving and calling his name. To this day, that apartment remains empty. All the other units are fine, but no one stays in that one. Now, as an adult, I'm still terrified of thunderstorms. Every door in my house has to be closed at night, especially during storms. Even now, at 26 years old, I sometimes relive that night during thunderstorms. There is something about thunderstorms which strikes fear in some people. Not me though. I love looking at lightning and listening to thunder and the pitter-patter of rain on the roof. I hope you enjoyed our spooky and strange stories. Join us next time for more. Take care and boo-bye.